These spears shown on screen are known as the Gweagal spears. They're a collection made up of 3 fishing spears and 1 hunting spear. They look like any other spear, I suppose, except according to the Australian media, these are the proceeds of crime. Not in that they killed animals, but rather they were stolen by Captain Crook. We used them as back scratchers. But as I said, they were stolen. Ancient spears handed back. I think they're misusing the word ancient, but let's run with it. More than 250 years after they were first taken, 4 spears stolen by Captain James Crook and his crew after they arrived at Botany Bay have been repatriated to their traditional owners. Emotional moment as spears taken by Captain Crook are returned to Indigenous community. 4 spears stolen by Captain James Crook. Even Kids News got in on the action, although they used the more euphemistic term taken without permission. Perhaps we should change his name to Captain James Crook. I'm naught but a petty thief. Of course, I jest. The spears were presented to Cambridge University's Trinity College in 1771 by Lord Sandwich, the British naval chief at the time, with the spears being held at the college's Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology since the early 20th century. Last year, the museum agreed to return the spears to the La Perouse Aboriginal community, who are apparently the direct descendants of the Gweagal who crafted the spears 254 years ago. I find it deeply ironic that if these spears weren't stolen, and I use that term loosely, in the 18th century, these objects wouldn't be around today. If these spears hadn't been taken, they wouldn't exist anymore. Unlike many artefacts, these were just regular tools that would have been used and then discarded when they broke. It was only once they were removed from Australia that they became somewhat precious. Am I wrong in that assessment? Cook, a British naval lieutenant at the time, travelled to New Holland, Australia, on the HMB Endeavour, His Majesty's bark. He was accompanied by botanist Joseph Banks, who kept a journal. This journal can be viewed online. After arriving at Botany Bay on 28th of April 1770, here are some excerpts of what he wrote. Of all these people we had seen so distinctly through our glasses, we had not been able to observe the least signs of clothing. Myself, to the best of my judgment, plainly discerned that the woman did not copy our mother Eve, even in the fig leaf. After dinner the boats were manned, and we set out from the ship, intending to land at the place where we saw these people, hoping that as they regarded the ships coming into the bay so little, they would as little regard our landing. We were in this, however, mistaken, for as soon as we approached the rocks, 2 of the men came down upon them, each armed with a lance of about 10 feet long and a short stick which he seemed to handle as if it was a machine to throw the lance. They called to us very loud in a harsh-sounding language of which neither us or Tupia, a Polynesian guide, understood a word, shaking their lances and menacing, in all appearance resolved to dispute our landing to the utmost, though they were but 2, and we 30 or 40 at least. In this manner we parleyed with them for about a quarter of an hour, they waving to us to be gone, we again signing that we wanted water and that we meant them no harm. They remained resolute, so a musket was fired over them, the effect of which was that the youngest of the 2 dropped a bundle of lances on the rock at the instant in which he heard the report. He, however, snatched them up again, and both renewed their threats and opposition. A musket loaded with small shot was now fired at the eldest of the 2, who was about 40 yards from the boat. It struck him on the legs, but he minded it very little, so another was immediately fired at him. On this he ran up to the house about 100 yards distant and soon returned with a shield. In the meantime we had landed on the rock. He immediately threw a lance at us, and the young man another, which fell among the thickest of us, but hurt nobody. 2 more muskets with small shot were then fired at them, on which the eldest threw 1 more lance, and then ran away as did the other. We went up to the houses, in one of which we found the children hid behind the shield and a piece of bark in one of the houses. We were conscious from the distance the people had been from us when we fired that the shot could have done them no material harm. We therefore resolved to leave the children on the spot without even opening their shelter. We therefore threw into the house to them some beads, ribbons, cloths, etc., as presents, and went away. We, however, thought it no improper measure to take away with us all the lances which we could find about the houses, amounting in number to 40 or 50. Okay, so in my reckoning, they essentially confiscated the spears that were being thrown at them. If you wish to call that stealing, I suppose you could, but clearly the locals were not exactly friendly towards the landing party. I'm not saying that they had to be, but of course, if you're aggressive towards others, expect them to be aggressive back. And that's pretty much what happened, although the landing party did still try to be friendly by giving the people some gifts. Captain Crook also kept a journal, which you can view online as well. Here are some excerpts of what he wrote regarding giving the local people gifts. From what I have said of the natives of New Holland, they may appear to some to be the most wretched people upon earth, but in reality they are far more happier than we Europeans, being wholly unacquainted not only with the superfluous, but with the necessary conveniences so much sought after in Europe. They are happy in not knowing the use of them. They live in a tranquillity which is not disturbed by the inequality of condition. The earth and sea of their own accord furnishes them with all things necessary for life. They covet not magnificent houses, household stuff, etc. They live in a warm and fine climate and enjoy every wholesome air, so that they have very little need of clothing, and this they seem to be fully sensible of. For many to whom we gave cloth, etc., left it carelessly upon the sea beach and in the woods, as a thing they had no manner of use for. In short, they seemed to set no value upon anything we gave them, nor would they ever part with anything of their own for any one article we could offer them. This, in my opinion, argues that they think themselves provided with all the necessaries of life, and that they have no superfluities. The native Australians may be happy in their condition, but they are without doubt among the lowest of mankind. Confirmed cannibals, they lose no opportunity of gratifying their love of human flesh. Mothers will kill and eat their own children, and the women, again, are often mercilessly ill-treated by their lords and masters. Look, I don't know if what Captain Cook wrote is 100% accurate, I'm just reading it, but this is the evidence we have. The media play up the idea of stolen spears, but to me it sounds like the Europeans were trying to be nice, but the local people were not having it, and consequently their spears were confiscated. The gifts the Europeans did give weren't welcome and were just left to lie on the beach. There are lots of people acting like these spears were significant cultural artefacts that were heartlessly stolen, but that's glorifying or romanticising what they actually were. These were hunting tools and had no significance beyond their purpose at that time. What happened to virtually all the other spears from that same time period? They were probably used and then burnt. The preservation is what has given these spears value and cultural significance. Some might argue that the people who preserved them are the rightful owners.